Good afternoon and welcome to Southern Cross University's Open Day 2023. My name is Jo and I'm the Future Student Officer here at Southern Cross University, and I'm also the host for this panel, Science and Environment. It's a 25-minute panel and we allow 5 to 10 minutes at the end for questions, and we're joined by some incredible experts here today, so thank you for joining us. And we have Student Ambassador Emily Yee, we've got Professor Nigel Andrew, Dr. Graham Palmer, and Director of the Living Lab Northern Rivers and Southern Cross University alumni Dan Etheridge. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm just going to start by asking you just to tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection to Southern Cross University.
Certainly. So hi, my name is Emily. I'm a 4th or 5th year student studying the double degree of Environmental and Marine Science and specializing in environmental resource management.
Yeah, hello, my name's Dan. I graduated from the Coastal Management program to have a Bachelor of Applied Science in Coastal Management from Southern Cross, I think in 2004. And actually my last semester here, I saw a sign go up on one of the posts out here for a student exchange program to the University of New Orleans. And I thought that sounded fun, and so I went for what I thought was 6 months, and that was 21 years later. I've just moved back to Lismore to take a job at Southern Cross. So Southern Cross definitely sent me on an unexpected and pretty excellent journey. So
I'm the Chair of Science, so I just started at SCU in January this year. I'm an entomologist, so I study insects, and particularly dung beetles, my main interest.
Yes, I'm Graham Palmer. I came to the university initially as a casual lecturer. I was working with Queensland Department of Forests at the time. I had been there 20 years. I came to work here permanently in about 2008, and which means most of my career is spent here teaching in forest science.
Thank you so much. Emily, I'll start with you. Obviously, you just explained your what you specialise in and major of your Bachelor of Science here. How did you choose that? Like, what influenced you to make that choice?
Thank you. I'd say a really big part of what made me choose that is just, I guess, growing up loving animals. So I've got a father who's really into science, and so I guess a lot of that rubbed off on me. And then my mum is also very much into studying whales, just also loving the ocean life. So just getting to grow up in such an environment where I just get to learn what I wanted to learn and love learning what I was learning, it was like a no-brainer. And then so also going through high school, I didn't think I'd have a favorite subject until I started doing biology, and then I was just looking forward to every single class that I have. If I had a double of it, I was excited. If it was a triple, ecstatic, absolutely. So I think that really carved out for me what I loved learning about, and I guess the people that I got to hang out with throughout my life really shaped, getting to do it at the university level.
That's a great answer, thank you. And obviously, you're local to the area. You went to Kadina High School. What made you choose Southern Cross University?
Several factors, I think. So I guess, for one, my biology teacher at Kadina High School, the way that she loved talking and teaching really made me appreciate just how much hard work she did. Maybe another one is also just getting how close it is to home. So it's only about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at worst, if the traffic is traffic in Lismore, am I right? No, but honestly, it's so much better than having to, do an hour and a half, trip to Sydney, like where I used to live when I was born. So yeah, this one was just so close, and just getting to know all the people here, and learning about all the staff, and then getting to hang out with them also. Yeah, it's absolutely just some of the many reasons why I chose Southern Cross University.
Thank you, that was a great answer. And Nigel, can I start by asking you to give us an overview on the different ways that you can shape a Bachelor of Science through majors and specialisations?
Sure. So currently there are 4 specialisations and 3 majors. So the main difference with a specialisation is that you really immerse yourself in that particular area of research, of teaching. So for example, we have a forestry specialisation, a marine systems specialisation, environment and earth systems specialisation, and also a regenerative agriculture specialisation. So they essentially mean that you've got a whole range of units set up for you throughout your 3 years. And then we also have the majors, which currently are biology, chemistry, and also mathematics. And that's more of a classical style of degree where you can do a single major and also do some of the shared majors from other parts of the university, or you can do a double major themselves. So you can either choose to do this specialisation where you immerse yourself very deeply into an area, or you can do these sort of majors, which are a bit like Lego blocks, and you can fit together with one aspect or different aspects from the university.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. And science seems to be in demand across the globe. And what are the career paths for people with a Bachelor of Science?
They're very diverse. I think, for example, again, in forestry, a lot of our graduates are working both in sort of plantation forestry, but also going into agroforestry. And there's a big sort of push for people with the knowledge, particularly when it comes to going to areas like sort of revegetation, regeneration, habitat rehabilitation. There are graduates going to those areas. There are graduates, particularly in regenerative agriculture, who are going into farming systems. And one of the great things, for example, with Regen Ag is that we're the only university that provide that specialisation, and it's very different from a classical agricultural sort of broad acre type of degree, because we are integrating a lot of ecology and agriculture together. So it actually is looking at the entire system. And that is an area which is developing. Basically, the research in that area is developing at the same time as the teaching experience. Marine systems, again, obviously that there's a lot of need for that worldwide. You know, for example, with the coral bleaching, the warming of the oceans, a lot of our sort of graduates are working in that area, but they also work in marine parks. They work for DPI, they work for national parks, they work for a lot of government agencies. And similar with Earth systems, there are a lot of researchers and the students who go into research and actually do PhDs in that area. There are others that will actually work for industry as well, so work for private industry, work as consultants. One area that is also, we probably don't get as many people going into is politics. And I guess anyone from a science background, it's always the hardest area to get into, but it's fantastic if we could actually get a science graduate to go in, more science graduates to go into politics, because then we can really influence the decisions at that higher level that work their way down. So that's one of the areas that we're trying to get our students hopefully go into as well.
That would be brilliant, yes. Graham, what inspires you about being a scientist?
Okay, so I guess, so I work in forestry, and so forest sciences, and the impressive thing about sciences, of course, for me is that capacity to go into the natural world, observe, measure and so forth, and to understand what's there. It's sort of, in forestry, it's like sleuthing. So, after due experience and learning, you can go into any forest and you can look at its structure, the species that are there, the fauna that's there, and the way it's all arranged, and you can basically estimate what's happened to that forest over 100 years or more before. So, whilst that sounds novel, of course, the real application is to then specify how management of that place might go on into the future, and of course that's all aimed at retaining that forest, maintaining it in perpetuity. So science, it's that capacity to understand what you see in nature and then to use that to manage for a better future.
That's a great answer. I do have another question for you, Graham. What research experiences are available through the degree that you teach in?
If I can refer back to when I finished, which was 1988, I finished with about 30 graduates, and I think at the time there was probably 5 or 6 jobs available throughout the state forestry authorities. Right now, there's been a shortage of forest scientists for more than a decade. I think last year I think we had 6 or 7 graduates finished. They all had job commitments before they finished. They all had opportunities probably to choose from half a dozen different jobs. Having said all that and trying to paint a picture of demand, another quick story too. I once took a class to Victoria and we were invited to attend the boardroom of a rather large plantation grower. And having taken into that room with my class, the CEO of that organisation gave me a right dressing down because they were facing a halving of their professional staff to retirement in the next 5 years, and they couldn't find any people to replace them. And this was somehow our fault at Southern Cross. But anyway, moving on, the research angle. So part of this shortage, of course, has been researchers, and there's so much to be done. As you know, the management of native forests is a topic that generates a lot of discussion. Similarly, we are challenged to produce wood for the future of society's needs and demands. And now we've got added to that mitigation of the impacts of climate change, which goes to carbon capture and storage, for which forests are ideally suited and built. And then, as Nigel mentioned, there's all those lands that have been degraded or degenerated for one reason or other, over farming, mining and so forth. They all need repair. And right now, the demand on research and answers to the prime questions is higher than ever, and we also have as few attending to that as ever before.
Thank you. And Dan, how did your degree help you prepare for your career?
To call it a career seems, it was like it's been more of an adventure than a typical career. Well, very practically, it was my plane ticket and reason to go to the other side of the world and study. And actually what I learned, the technical skills I got at Southern Cross prepared me really well to enter the workforce in the US. I was in Louisiana, huge coastal wetland system, the Mississippi River Delta, huge issues of mismanagement and coastal wetland erosion, a large city sitting in the middle of it. And so it was a really interesting, complex mix of environmental science and understanding natural processes and then human development and planning needs. And that's what the degree was really built around. And that's why I actually chose to come here, because I was less interested in just understanding environmental processes to understand them and more understanding how we can modify human behaviour into the future to live a little more sympathetically and productively. But then my career took a side turn because I was living in New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina hit, and found myself working at a university in the environmental science and planning area, but the university also had an architecture school, and in the face of a disaster and the recovery that comes with that, which everyone in this region is familiar with now, we found ourselves having to work together in ways we hadn't done. And my training here meant I was one of the few people that had actually taken courses in land use planning and natural systems science. And so I was in meetings where I understood what the kind of multidisciplinary folks were saying. Yeah. And so that led on to a really interesting career where I was embedded in an architecture school, having never studied architecture. And for the first 10 years, they used to go around the room and introduce their colleagues. This is so-and-so who studies single-family housing. This is so-and-so who studies multi-family residential buildings. And this is Dan, and he's not an architect. And yeah, that's how the architects treat those of us that aren't architects. And yeah, so, you know, I think your question was how did my degree here prepare me for that career? It prepared me really well with the skills, but it actually gave me exactly what I was looking for, which was a grounding in more of an interdisciplinarity. So you could sit in a room and help people communicate better with each other around really complex complex problems. And Hurricane Katrina was the first of, far from the first large natural disaster in the world, obviously, but it's often been called the beginning of this era of more and bigger natural disasters affecting more people. And so that has sort of become, a major focus of my work.
Yeah, that was such an incredible answer. Thank you. I was going to say, what is the most interesting part of your, career or adventure? What would you say would be a big highlight for you?
I would actually say it's the most recent bit of being able to move back to Australia. Like I've literally just moved back here in the last nine months after leaving for 6 months 21 years ago. And while I always wanted to move back to Australia, I thought I'd be leaving a lot of my work and networks in the US and kind of starting again here a little bit. But because of the opportunity to start the Living Lab Northern Rivers at Southern Cross, I was really able to bring those experiences I had, and I talk about my work because it's so over there, because it's so relevant to here. And so that experience of coming home and bringing what I learned and feeling like that's actually useful knowledge has definitely been the best so far.
Yeah, that's incredible. Emily, I'm going to go back to you and ask you, what do you enjoy most about your degree or Southern Cross University?
Certainly. Thank you, Jo. Wow. Where do I even start with what I love about what I study? I think maybe just to start off with, I've told the story I think before, but I'll say it again. Because when it comes to choosing the degree at the university, I was very indecisive as whether I do environmental or marine science, because I just love learning about everything. So I was in an ideal world, I was like, I want to learn both. And that's what the university offered. It offered a double degree. So I think the most exciting thing for me, or that I really enjoy, is that I get to learn about what I want to learn. So environmental today, we get to learn about corals tomorrow, that kind of thing. So I think, just one of the many things that I really enjoyed. Yeah.
I've got one last question before I think we wrap it up for the audience. What is your goal once you graduate?
Oof. That is a very good question. I often talk about whether I want to keep learning or if I want to go out to the workforce. And I've heard many suggestions about, go get a job and then come back and keep studying. But I think I'd really love to become a lecturer. I think would be a great idea. I love talking, and I love talking to people, and I love teaching and learning more. So I think I would love to become a lecturer in what I do, and maybe even get to travel the world for that.
That is such an amazing goal, and I think you would be brilliant at it, Emily. So I think we're getting pretty close to our time, so I just want to say thank you to all of our panelists today for sharing your insight and your knowledge. It's actually priceless what you've given us today, so thank you very much. I will open it up to the audience for any questions, if anyone has any. Yes?
Graham, when you said there's lots of opportunity for research, who's funding that? Where is that research sort of placed and who's doing it? Who's driving it?
So it's about resources to do research. Most recently, a decision made by the government of Malcolm Turnbull is fruiting. It's being implemented, which allocates some $100 million to a program to fund research in the forest industries and wood products. The knowledge of absolutely how that's being implemented or managed, I can't tell you, but I can say that the aspects relating to wood products manufacturing is being managed by a group out of northern Tasmania. I think that was like one of those political decisions. In addition to that, though, there has been and remains the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research. They have an office in Canberra, and they fund various agencies in Australia to conduct research overseas. And I've been fortunate to spend some 12 years of my work time in the South Pacific, Solomons, Fiji, Vanuatu, where the research work has been about reforestation. You understand there's been quite a bit of exploitation there over the decades or centuries. So those communities are highly dependent on forests for food and the materials and so forth. So that's another source of money. And of course there is an array of scholarships and so forth offered each annum by the various education departments for students to pursue research. But in summary, I think right now, with that federal funding available, it's a pretty good time if you want to pursue a postgrad qualification. If you need more information, happy to let you get my contact details, and I can keep you either informed or put you in touch with the right people as more is learned.
Yeah, just curious about where the money's going and how it's being used.
Oh.
Like the access.
Yeah, okay, so the main fields of research at the moment are all about climate change, or mostly about climate change, particularly carbon accounting and the activity of like carbon storage. Notwithstanding that, there's a lot of mitigation works going on, generating information about how climate change will affect distribution of forests. But there's a lot of work going on in the background about biofuels. Biomass to bioenergy. I think there was a thing in Lismore app today about green jet fuel. It's a good story if you wanted to read that. So those kinds of climate is a pretty high driver at the moment. Yep, no worries.
Yes?
I've got a question probably for Nigel. Our specialisations here at Southern Cross University talk about systems, marine systems and environmental systems. What's the significance of that work in the study here?
I guess the key thing is bringing together a range of different areas. So it's trying to bring together the complexity, and for the complexities being talked about with the systems is not just an individual sort of small component. The system is looking at multiple areas and sort of bringing that together, basically like an ecosystem, and saying that there are multiple drivers or there are multiple impacts on what is happening within that. And from a specialisation point of view, they're trying to promote that engagement that is just not a single area, but there's a complexity that's built into it. And from a degree point of view, it's to sort of encourage that sort of thinking that of pretty much outside the box, and sort of understand that there are a lot of complex issues that need to be addressed, and that needs information from a wide range of different areas, not just sort of from a single sort of point moving forward. So that would be in a nutshell why I would go down that route of talking about systems.
I can't thank you enough for joining us today. It's been a brilliant panel, and thank you so much. And thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the open day.